My bloody Valentine, oh Jensen, my bloody Valentine. All that and more on this week's Horror TV Weekly.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
With my
This is actually Matt Damon, not Frank Sinatra or Seth
think you
MacFarlane
can
is a good one. Yeah, yeah. Is that some shade?
Yeah, it is.
I love that.
I mean, Mr. New Jersey himself, Frank Sinatra, is beyond. So
Yeah, I love Sinatra, and when Seth MacFarlane does it, he does it justice. But yeah, I just thought, well, talented Mr. Ripley, serial killer, that's fitting for Horror TV Weekly, right? And since it is Horror TV Weekly, I'm your host, Lacretia Lyon. So you can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one. And I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host.
hey everyone, this is Chauncey K. Robinson, and you can find me on Twitter at Miss Chauncey KR.
All right, and there's a lot of news this week because Freeform has a new show coming out, Siren, that I knew was about mermaids, but I didn't know they were going to be killer mermaids until now. They've got a cool new poster out that looks actually pretty freaky. And yeah.
Looks like some really cool fan artish, but like intensely, I don't know, anime. Something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if the words killer mermaid go together.
Yeah, I'm
So
like, even though people say I sound like Ursula when I laugh, yeah, I do read the YouTube
Ursula
comments.
was half
Yeah.
octopus. That
Yeah.
made sense. She wasn't truly like, I mean, she was like,
Wait, aren't killer mermaids like more referred to as sirens?
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Right? Okay.
That's why it
what I was
doesn't sound right. But even siren versus mermaid, I mean, maybe someone could correct me on the mythology of it. I don't know if it's exactly the same.
Yeah,
right?
like the only thing I'm familiar with is like the Odyssey and the sirens in that, and then it's like, okay, they weren't I mean, mermaids. And then I'm thinking of like the How I Met Your Mother, like mermaid manatee theory. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, that's where my brain went. But yeah, like I think they've always been similar because the mermaids sort of got a different connotation with like the Little Mermaid and stuff like that, became more sweet and innocent.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it was always kind of a dark mythology.
Oh, it was.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
even the Little Mermaid,
Yeah.
Disney Disneyfies everything.
Yeah,
But
there's
in the
wieners all
original
over
one,
it.
yeah, and in the original one, the one they borrowed from, the Little Mermaid actually dies in the end. She turns into foam because she tried to change herself for a man. Don't do it. So that's the real nugget of the story. So, I mean, yeah, it definitely has some dark edges to it. I think this particular show, they're talking about the mermaids come back to town, or they want their ocean back or something. So I don't know if this is like some environmental thing.
It's like, is this like Avatar, where you're like, this is just Fern Gully with, better actors?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's on, this is on Freeform, so we'll probably deal with a lot more interpersonal drama than
Oh, yeah.
Avatar was. Although that had a love story, so.
Yeah.
Real quick, I do have a recommendation because I saw a recent film called The Siren.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was a Polish. It was actually a Polish horror musical that has to deal with these two sisters that are, in a sense, mermaids, and one's called Goldie, the other one's called Silver. And it goes into the same mythology about loving someone and also giving up their tail for men and getting a surgery for like to have human legs and stuff. And what happens when the man that doesn't actually love her back is they turn into
Like the
sea
original
foam.
tail, yeah.
Yeah, they turn
pretty
into
much in
sea
the original
foam.
tail, because she actually turns into, in the original one, was it Hayden Christian Anderson? Or no, no, it wasn't.
The Grimm fairy tales?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Grimm, yeah. But like she turns
Yeah.
into sea foam in the original one. So this
Yeah.
horror movie, this horror musical sounds pretty much like the original children's tale was, which makes a lot of sense. When did that come out?
Yeah, I'm like, I love musicals. I'm like, this sounds cool.
Yeah, it's all in Polish, I believe, and it's also set in the 80s, which is awesome.
Always awesome. The 80s
it-
are epic.
It actually came out, I believe, 2016, 2017.
Okay, I
Yeah.
gotta check that
cool.
out.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, and what we'll check out here right now is the Siren teaser trailer, just to see how much of this is really killer mermaids and then interpersonal drama.
Maybe it'll be like Venom, where we won't see the mermaids until like the season finale.
Yeah, that seems like something they might do.
Instead of hiding the shark, it's hiding the mermaid.
Yeah.
This is real. We caught something we've never seen before.
We need to be careful.
She changed in the water.
I was drawn to her.
She is extremely violent.
It's just a story.
Yeah, to me that looks good. I'm like, I was impressed because I was thinking, oh, mermaids, but yeah, that
Definitely
actually
looks like
cool.
a thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it actually might be kind of cool. I like that. I'm digging it. They got the representation with the LGBTQ going on a little bit in there. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing is Freeform has always been good about representation of LGBTQ as well as, just race representation. 'Cause
Yeah,
you see the
Lincoln
diverse
Heights
cast.
was
Yeah.
like their
Yeah.
first, like one of their like main shows for a couple of years. I was just doing a reruns of Lincoln Heights. That's why it came to mind. But when they used to be ABC Family, and that was a black family that led off of that.
Yeah, and
That's
like the
interesting.
Fosters, I mean, it's always been really good.
Yeah, exactly. And this comes out March 29th. And it has a 2-hour premiere, which should be interesting, kind of like a movie going on. I'm kind of happy that they didn't start off. I was a little worried with the trailer that they did start off with some like major love story. Like she comes out, she's trying to be different, and she sees this guy. And this seems like much more of a thriller. What's going on here?
Yeah, it's very much like she is out to get people and use her siren ways, which is interesting. It's like, because, I mean, you see that, men and women are drawn to her. I like that part because that would be what a siren is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone's drawn to her. So that's definitely, that seems pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. Well, other things that are cool, because it wouldn't be, yesterday was Ash Wednesday. I know that's, right after Fat Tuesday, and it has to do with Lent, not just with Catholicism, but other sects of Christianity as well. But when I think of Ash Wednesday, I think of Ashley Williams from Evil Dead. And we have more parenting advice from Ash. He talks about sex in this first video. Oh, no, this one's teen pregnancy, actually. This is Ash's advice. It's always fun.
It's bad enough having some ball and chain kid cramping your style. Being saddled with grandkids too, even more of a cock block. So if you don't want your kid having a kid of their own, let them know. You can't get pregnant if you do it standing up. It's science.
Oh, no.
Get at it.
And, now Ash gives advice on sex. I thought these were very appropriate for Valentine's Day. Because that's why there's so many October babies, guys. It's New Year's and Valentine's Day.
Sex. Kids these days get more action than I did when I was 14. Now, as a parent, you need to clamp down on this kind of behavior. Here are Papa Ash's rules. 1, carry protection. A shotgun is good because there's a lot of real weirdos out there. 2, never do it on a first date. Unless you're with someone super hot. 3, if they ask you to do something weird, like kinky shit, you've hooked yourself a winner. Congratulations.
And of course, to top it all off, this was the Valentine. I found when you Google Ash versus Evil Dead Valentines, like this was my favorite because I love puppets too, especially Ashy Slashy. It's like I don't mind your filthy puppet butthole on my arm. How sweet. Yeah.
True love.
Yeah. Especially when you have a puppet that looks just like you.
That's weird.
Oh, yeah, but speaking of weird, like Midnight Texas is actually returning for a season 2. This was a show that I had given a chance and I'd fallen off, so I was kind of surprised that it did get picked up, because I know as we were discussing before, it's like who had kept up with it, but...
She really wants to ask, who was watching?
Come on. Like, because I know my mom watches it, but like, this, other than Lucifer and NCISLA, those are like her only shows. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's based off of, who's the original author? But it's based off of the same woman that did True Blood.
yeah,
And
did Sookie. God, I know.
Sookie and all of them.
Yeah, Sookie was the name of the novels. I'm like, what was the name of her? I'm like, I'll Google it here.
Yeah, and this was, and it had when I read the original plot line for the book, I thought it was pretty interesting. First of all, that one dealt with some representation as well, because I think in the book that this is based off of, the woman was like, slightly overweight, and she was like not necessarily what you think of as stereotypical hero, a hero and stuff like that, and she had powers and everything. And then when I saw the trailer for the show, it seemed to be centering on this guy. I didn't know who his character was because I hadn't read about him or anything like that. And I don't know, it just looked like something was missing.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, luckily with the season 2, it seems that they've got new showrunners and there's fewer regulars because there was a lot of characters and they didn't always know what to do with them. And it's Charlene Harris who was the author.
Yeah.
Okay. I know. I was like, it's a funny name like mine. Like,
Yeah, and they trimmed the fat a little bit in terms of the cast, so that's probably going to be their way of being able to focus a bit more on the on some of the main characters. But I think it'll be interesting. I mean, I like the premise of it, but I wasn't really necessarily hooked on what I saw for the trailer, because I remember the trailers for it were coming out around San Diego Comic-Con last year. They were like all over the place, like in the main square of Comic-Con in San Diego. They had like the huge Midnight Texas thing on, and they were really like pushing this. But you know, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, we just finished True Blood like not too long ago. Is this another True Blood? Do we need another True Blood?
well, my description of it when my mom had me watch like the first 6 episodes to try and give it a try was like, it's like True Blood without all the sex. And like honestly, True Blood sometimes needed that to fill in. Like
exactly. Like it was one of those True Blood was one of the shows where it was okay, but it's like one of the distinctive things was the fact that it could be on HBO doing what it was doing.
Yeah, and that was the thing. And being on NBC like Midnight Texas is, I was surprised because Constantine had the same problem. He wasn't allowed to smoke. He wasn't allowed to basically be bisexual, and some of the parts of the character were missing because you know how restricted NBC is. That's why I was surprised that this show was able to last. And you know, seriously, this, and you couldn't give Constantine a season 2? I mean, thankfully he's going to be on the season finale of Legends, guys.
Yeah.
But that's for another show.
Well, technically he's a supernatural demon slayer dude.
I know. And it's like, well, but I can't drink. The wine's not even open.
Yeah.
And I've already said his name like 3 times, but if you're at home, feel free.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm surprised that they gave it another season because I don't necessarily know what the ratings were, but it didn't seem like it was like one of their juggernaut hits. And nowadays, you kind of have it so TV, I think regular station TVs are a bit risk adverse.
Yeah.
They tend to cut off a lot of things, you know, like Pitch, like Fox did, and others, you know, where they just didn't get second chances, even though they were like critically acclaimed. I don't even know if Midnight Texas was necessarily critically acclaimed.
No, from what I understand is it was critically panned. And like Timeless, and that may be the thing, is Timeless they'd canceled, but people got mad about it. So then it came back. But Timeless is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing. It's from Eric Kripke, who did Supernatural, and it's got a good cast. Like Abigail Spencer is always great. But yeah, like maybe that's why NBC was like, okay, well, maybe we need to give this another shot because Timeless seemed to be very popular.
And it eventually caught on, yeah.
Yeah, and who knows, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I could try to catch up. It does have representation in terms of diversity. One of the main young women is African American. I think she was on another film and just like slipped my mind as soon as I thought about it. So we've seen her before. And one of the lead vampire guys is African American.
And he's the best character.
Yeah, and he's a great actor. I think you can catch him on Corporate now on Comedy Central too, if I'm thinking of the same actor. But yeah, so I mean, it has a few points, and sometimes we've all watched trash TV before that didn't have any diversity. So at least this has some bonus points.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it wasn't all bad. Like I watched the first 6 episodes, and I was like, there are things I like, but you know, being as there's so much TV out there, it's kind of hard to pick up something that you're like not completely in love with.
Exactly, because there's so much content, and it can be a bit oversaturating.
Yep. But speaking of great content, though, is Preacher Season 3 is now in production, and they have some new characters announced. And that's why I'm like, I don't recognize any of these from the comics, but I'm really interested in some of the casting. So I'm like, that's interesting.
Well, Grandma's from the comics.
Yeah, Grandma is the only character that I recognize, and that's... blanking on her name, Betty Buckley. Yeah, and she's like Broadway, like, you know, star. So that's why I was like, that's an interesting pick. But yeah, with the new characters, TC, Christina, and Jody, played by Colin Cunningham, Liz McGeever, and Jeremy Childs, respectively, it was like, I don't remember these. And I'm like, maybe I need to go through Preacher Run again, because it is a quick, you know, run through of a whole series. But yeah, I'm like, And they've been known to, because the whole first season is not even, it's like one issue of the comic.
Yeah.
So yeah, like they didn't really delve into the characters of the town in the comics, so they're known for taking risk, and it worked out great because I liked season 1.
Yeah, season 1 was good. Season 1 to me, I kind of treated it like a prequel because in the comic books, when you first meet them, they're already on the road. So season 2 was kind of like the real beginning of the comics.
Yeah.
And then with season 1, they made you get used to all these characters. And I know there was some complaints online because people were like, okay, are these characters going to stick around? Are we not going to do the road trip? It's going to take forever. Because one of the cool aspects of Preacher was the fact they went to different places and all the people they met in the different plot lines. So I think they've done a good job, like with the town and being able to bring new people in. So like you're saying, like I think the third season, I feel like as long as they don't, I love my OT3, my 1 through 3 pairing of the three main characters. So I don't want that dynamic to be stifled too much. Although Jesse pisses me off most of the show. He made me so mad most of season 2. He just couldn't get it to. He's so. I mean, I don't know what they've done because it's such a different take than the character was in the comics for me. So
yeah, the character is kind of a dick in the comics too, which you like. And
he was a bit nicer in the comics,
and that's the thing.
He was a bit nicer.
Yeah, it's like he was kind of, he was honestly, Jesse Custer and John Constantine were my favorite characters growing up because they were honestly a little bit similar. They were scoundrels and whatever, but they always, push came to shove, they would be a hero in the end, and they weren't that bad of a guy. It was sort of like a defense mechanism. But yeah, I agree. Like I always liked Jesse more than Cassidy in the comics, but on the show, I was like,
switched. And I don't know if that's purposeful that they decided to do that. So I wonder if season 3 is going to get a little bit back to kind of showing us why Jesse's the leader. Because there were times during season 2 where I was like, why are they following him? And that's the issue when you have a show that's like the OT3. You have to believe that there's a reason why all of them stick together.
Yeah, because, too, one of the big things about this is Tulip's character is so much better on the show than she was in the comics. Because in the comics, she wasn't really a full fleshed-out human being.
It was very much the plot line of her and him.
And, like, Ruth Negga is just such a good actress and, like, has given Tulip not only, like, her toughness and just brashy attitude, but, like, the heart, too.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I like about the show and what they're doing. So, yeah, maybe they're going to fix Jesse a little bit so we can understand why. Yeah.
The two, Ruth and, blanked on his name. the actor who played Jesse, who was
Dominic Cooper.
yes.
Yeah, they're a real life couple.
They're a real life couple. When Jesse and Tulip get a chance to have those scenes, there's so much chemistry. And I felt like there are times when you're kind of starved for it, like we were in season 2. So maybe we'll get back to that if she's alive.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, but I mean, surely, because that's the thing is like, no, they're like the trio.
Finale
like,
was a while ago. Y'all should know that.
I know. It's like, yeah, you should be aware because season 2 was also fun with Arseface and Hitler and their Shawshank.
Which was a weird plot line.
Oh yeah, that was a weird plot line for sure, but it was fun.
And I felt weird because I'm like, am I supposed to like Hitler?
Yeah, because that was.
Why are you putting me in that position?
And who knew that World War II was all started by figgy pudding?
Yeah. It's a very subversive show, and that's one of the things I really do like about the style of it, even the directing, the way it looks, visually. It's such a very cool show. So I'm happy that it's returning for one. I can't even believe we're already on a 3rd season.
Yeah, that's the thing is this show is just and that's why I like these 10-episode shows like Preacher and how Outcast is, and hopefully once we get this, cinematic stuff filled out, it'll be in the same vein because you do 10 good episodes. That's great. Like that's all I need. And I feel like they can do them a lot quicker and we're not waiting around when they do that.
Exactly. And there's so much in each episode too. It's like so much happens, you get these, in-depth character like arcs a little bit, and then you're kind of satisfied till the next time for the most part. I'm kind of left wanting more, but there's still so much in the one episode.
Yeah, and that's what I love about AMC and how they're able to do stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, speaking of AMC, we'll just do this Walking Dead story first. They're finally going to get a fully nude zombie.
Yeah, which is not necessarily trailblazing. But it's still awesome because they've never done it on The Walking Dead before.
Yeah, and I'm just like, all right, we get a fully naked zombie. Like, this is just interesting to me that it was like, hey, we're doing this.
Yeah, I think it was said actually online that Z Nation actually already had a topless zombie before.
Oh, yeah.
Like they've done the new thing, but it's now that Walking Dead's doing it, and we don't know whether it's going to be a woman or a guy. I think it would be more revolutionary if it was a guy, because often they always show the woman.
Yeah.
And I've only seen can I say penis?
Oh yeah, feel free. I mean, my background is Alexander Skarsgård naked on a toilet. I'm not offended.
But no, I'm just saying, like, when it comes to male nudity, it's so weird. Like, there's such a dynamic where women nudity is such a, like, the topless thing is so, like, topless, but they never show, like, the bottom of the guy and things like that, as though.
Except True Blood. True Blood did a good, and Game of Thrones has a lot of male nudity.
I don't think they'll do it, though. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a guy. I think it's going to be a woman.
Well, and too, like, when you said that, I'm like, oh, now I'm having, like, Castle Freak flashbacks of his old shrivelly balls, and I'm just like, oh, God, don't do the male nudity. That's just gross.
Yeah,
like,
it's not as appealing.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
admit that.
I'm like, hey, Skarsgård naked, please, more of that. Like,
Yeah, it was really funny because, this whole thing reminded me how jarring it is of the fact that men aren't usually exposed in that way. Because when I was watching Altered Carbon, that new Netflix sci-fi show, which is actually really good, I've seen a couple episodes of it, they had a full nudity scene of a guy. He just walks into the thing. I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, because up until that point, I had seen so many boobies in this same show, and I didn't bat an eyelid. I was like, oh, yeah, a girl's
Boobs,
naked.
yeah.
And then he walks in. I'm like, what? I'm like, this just shows. Be revolutionary, Walking Dead. Let's have a naked male zombie.
We want zombie dick. Hashtag we want zombie dick. And speaking of male nudity, actually, we played the song from Talented Mr. Ripley. Both Matt Damon and Jude Law go full pickle in that. And, if you ever want to see Batman's American Psycho, I can actually recommend a lot of male nudity films.
Cool.
Yeah. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It's also nice full frontal. Jason Segel. He's a pretty good looking dude.
Yeah, and even in horror movies and horror shows, we just don't see the guys as much. There's always naked women.
Yeah.
Let's make it equal.
I know. There was like a joke, like I think it was Funny or Die, that they were talking about like Game of Thrones and like HBO stuff, and it was just like making jokes about show me the nudity. And even Kevin Bacon had like, show him the bacon like joke like thing too. I'm like, yeah, and Kevin Bacon, you want to get naked in a movie anytime, I'll go see it, man.
Yeah.
I love you.
Let's equal it out in Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, speaking of equal in Hollywood, Ryan Murphy signed a 5-year deal at Netflix, just like Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah.
How will this affect American Horror Story is what everybody's thinking.
Yeah, what I've been seeing is that it won't affect it as much, is that Ryan Murphy is going to still be like the showrunner for American Horror Story for now. That's kind of the for now thing. But we all know, I mean, if you were personally victimized by Glee, like this one was, I'm raising my hand for those of you who can't see, you know that he likes to start stuff. And I think this is why it's so great that he started doing anthology series, because he's such a genius when it comes to like just that interpersonal drama, guilty pleasure stuff. But he has a tendency to start shows, and then you can tell when his, like most geniuses and creative types, his attention span wanes, and he goes to something else, and someone else takes over and kind of switches around. So I predict that he might pull back from American Horror Story eventually with whatever they're going to do for Netflix.
Well, and two, as long as, say, like with Supernatural, when Eric Kripke said he was done after season 5, he told his story. He left it in the reins of people who'd been there, and the vision was similar. And so you really didn't notice too much of a difference. I mean, and that's why it's gone into 13 seasons. But, like, for example, like when Ryan left Nip Tuck, and then they leave Miami, and it's like, it just wasn't very good anymore. And
there are some shows where the showrunner, where the person who has that vision kind of has to stay around. That was the same way I felt about the Vampire Diaries when Kevin Williamson left. I was like, he should have stuck around, because no offense to Julie Plec, it just kind of went, in the way she wanted it, but not in the way that I feel like it was originally intended. And I think that's kind of similar with Ryan stuff. But with the anthologies, it's a little different. I just don't know in terms of American Horror Story, since it is an anthology.
Yeah, because that is the thing, is every season's been kind of different, and they've had like small loopholes, but I've even fallen off the series a little bit because their seasons have been inconsistent. Like, because I'm like, I loved Coven, but like Freak Show, as much as I love Neil Patrick Harris, when he came in, it got all messed up because we really wanted to see Dandy was like the best character. It's like, I'm glad how it ended because I love Dandy, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think the next season are talking about aliens. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. It's like, who knows?
Yeah, they might do Aliens while Ryan's off doing. I'm excited to see what he's going to do for Netflix, though, because with Netflix, he'll have a lot more. I mean, 911 is a really cool show. If people have, seen
I've seen a few episodes.
Yeah, and
it's
it's a good guilty pleasure kind of deal. And I think with Netflix, because as I was just saying, Altered Carbon, they showed the wieners and things like that. He'll have a chance to kind of just do what he wants. I mean, if he could push the limits with American Horror Story, and that was like, cable or whatever, let's see what he can do with Netflix.
Yeah, because that is the thing, is Netflix is pretty well anything goes unless you're a fun pot comedy and you don't get a second season. But The Ranch has, sorry, that's a different show. So mad. Seriously,
Shade.
The Ranch.
Shade.
But yeah, at least we've got more good content, though, coming with Robert Rodriguez, who is reteaming with Michelle Rodriguez, no relation, guys, for VR series The Limit. This is so cool. I love Robert Rodriguez, especially because he does so much for the Texas Film Commission. And yeah, Michelle Rodriguez is just a true badass. And yeah.
Yeah, I like her for the most. I loved her in the Resident Evil stuff and the Fast and the Furious, for sure. I think this will be interesting. I think this is showing that VR is starting to try to make its way into mainstream entertainment, which is interesting because this show that they're starting is that it's going to be like a show that's from her perspective, and it's going to be on a VR app that people can get, and they basically will see her as some enhanced weapon that's going out to kill the corporation that made her. So I don't know. I mean, have you ever watched the show in VR before?
No, I've seen a lot of VR because I'll go to E3 and stuff and we'll test things there. I'm not always that into it, I guess, because I grew up playing Resident Evil and was fine just with my PlayStation. And seeing the VR was cooler, and so was Doom, but it's at the same time, it's you still have that, it's not real. But the fact that this is going to be a show and you're following along, I'm this is actually seems intriguing to me. And I'm okay, this is inventive. So I'm open to it.
Yeah, this whole immersive sort of storytelling where it's while you're watching a scene. I've actually reviewed some movies in VR, some movies that were specifically for VR. They were kind of mixture of documentary based and fiction based off of the prison system and whatnot. And it was really cool because as you are watching the film in VR, you while the thing is going on, you can kind of turn around, see who's around them. Now, I will say sometimes it's a little distracting, though, because dialogue's happening, and it's I'm a person in the room, and that feels a little weird. People are having conversation. I'm okay, I'm supposed to be there. But then there's also oh, what's this on the other side of the wall? Wait a minute, did I miss the plot?
Yeah, because I feel sometimes there's too much, and you're okay, am I seeing? Because I did this Legion VR/AR at Comic-Con, and I'm just what am I supposed to be doing here? Am I supposed to be looking over here or there? Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting to see how people in this day and age where we have such a short attention spans at times, if we will be able to, if people will like the experience and if we'll see more of this. Because I feel they've been trying to make this a thing for a bit now. VR has had this evolution from, being something that was super expensive, something with big clunky stuff, to seeing something with games where people can, have it in their own living room. So I think cinema is the next frontier for it.
Yeah, because that's the thing is pretty well almost everyone has some sort of AR, VR device nowadays just because it's become such a big part of the zeitgeist, and it's only kind of giving people a little bit more interactivity, and there's nothing wrong with that because people do need to get off their couch. I mean,
yeah. No, and I feel a genre like this or in horror in general is because I think this is a little bit more sci-fi with some killing and stuff, but just horror and action in general are the two genres to do it in, though. Yeah. Because VR, you could have some type of quiet indie drama, but that wouldn't be as much fun as if I'm in a slasher flick myself and there's someone getting killed and I'm looking at it from their perspective.
Yeah, I would kill to be at Camp Crystal Lake, or something like that. That's cool, but instead of just I watch, a Netflix movie, the futile and stupid gesture, it's but that's never going to be a VR. It's it's a comedy. I'm yeah, you don't, those things aren't going to fit with this, but stuff like this, people are want to interact.
Yeah, definitely. I think VR is the if you're going to do it in any genre, you do it in this one.
Yeah, and speaking of VR and AR and stuff, we have some cool bottles of wine from Skybound. These are special Walking Dead wines. We have Cabernet Sauvignon and then the Blood Red blend. And this is what they look like when you're able to purchase them in the store here. And I believe that they will be available at your regular grocers. We don't have a full list, but you can find them all on the Skybound website if you're looking to buy specifically. But yeah, we have these cool videos showing the augmented reality that we took just before the show on our phone. So apologize for how small it is, but you guys just have to see. This is a cool app you can download so that you're able to augment your reality with the wine.
Those are my fingers.
Yes. And you see it's got sound effects, and then when you even pull it closer, the zombie is like look like it's cracking your phone.
Exactly.
And then the other bottle has like Rick Grimes, and now it's the comic book Rick that you see, but it is voiced by Andrew Lincoln, which is really cool.
Very nice, ladies and men, whoever would be into Andrew Lincoln. Let's not discriminate against it because he has a beautiful voice, whether it's his British accent or not, to be coming out of your phone.
Yeah, I'd let him stand outside my window and flip some cards.
Oh my gosh, I still remember that. No, yeah, and I think what's really cool, I think it's Live Wine Labels that does this, and who are doing this in conjunction with The Walking Dead. And if people know about like 19 Crimes, it's kind of a similar thing. Like you download this app, they come to life. And with these bottles, what's also cool is that if you get the character bottles and put them next to each other, they like fight next to each other or fight each other. So that's really kind of fun.
Yeah, because that's one thing that you're able to do is like Rick will fight the zombie when you put them next to each other. So yeah, like as we say, we're just getting more augmented reality and virtual reality, which let's face it, it's way better than our reality right now, right?
It really is. It really is. And I mean, with this particular thing, I mean, could you imagine as you get tipsier, like, and then your bottles coming to life? I mean, you can collect them all. It's a really cool way of being more immersed into fandom, which is always awesome.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that's all, anybody's trying to do is just keep, fans interested with new cool things. And that's what The Walking Dead is great about, is like always something new. I mean, they even have coloring books.
And we can also tell you maybe sometime next week how these wines taste, everyone.
Yeah, I know. We'll let you know. And and then Black Jones said in the chat, just to go back to Michelle Rodriguez here for a minute, just because I thought this was cool. He's like, she should be the question for DC or Marvel's America Chavez. I'm like, yes, good on both of those fronts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've had like Renee Montoya in Gotham, but never really, she was part of a really bad storyline, so was cut out because that was just dumb. But like, I'm like, why can't she come back?
Yeah.
But yeah, we could have Renee Montoya in the movies, played by Michelle.
We always need more representation.
Yeah. Well, and two, like, you don't have a lot of Latinas in the comic book, so that's why it's like, where is Renee?
I mean, what's the list? Like, if you could list like 5 off the top of your head.
Yeah, Maggie Sawyer, Renee Montoya for DC, and then I'm trying to think of, like, are there even any men? Like, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of, I feel like, Latino and Afro-Latino representation in more indie comics.
Yeah.
You'll find that, and there's a lot of up-and-coming Latinx comic book makers and writers and stuff like that who definitely deserve a chance to kind of showcase that sort of thing. So
I don't know if this counts, but what about like The Flash with Cisco and Gypsy?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, is The Flash is probably one of the better representations right now of just really a diverse cast. And they've done a good job since the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. The black blended family, all of that.
Yeah.
That definitely has been on the forefront.
Yeah, and then Black Jones brings up Miles Morales, because isn't Miles
he's Afro-Latino.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, he's mixed. And yeah, we've got a shout out in the Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. So, and you also watched Channel Zero's Butcher's blog this week.
I did.
Yeah.
I saw last week I saw the premiere episode, and we had been talking about this because of the fact that I was a little hesitant because I'm like, I'm not really cool. She was digging the cannibalism stuff, and I was like, I don't really know, because more of my horror stuff tends to be like the ghost, the mystery type stuff, and not necessarily the guts and spewing of eating
I'm all
tongues
about
and
blood
stuff.
and guts.
And well, you love
Yeah.
Ash versus,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that's just all that. So I, you know, watched it because I've been loving the Channel Zero first 2 seasons, specifically the first one. And this one was actually really good so far. The first episode dealt with Zoe and Alice Woods, who are sisters who go into town. And basically, one of the sisters, Zoe, she's very much... she's got a lot of problems, and what you see is that her sister Alice is taking this job as a caseworker or a family advocacy worker. That's kind of what they do. And basically she does this so that her and her sister can leave out of town. And their mom is actually in a mental hospital. And you notice that there seems to be something that goes on with the whole, like, it seems to run in the family, like, you know, hereditary and whatnot. And this is what Alice is afraid of. But I really liked this first episode because there were so many layers to it. It wasn't just this idea of this, you know, great, you know, sisters just come in and stuff is weird. It's like, first of all, the characters already have their own exposition, their own backstory, their own issues before they get to the new town that they happen to be in. But what was interesting about it, I thought, was that the town is going through this socioeconomic drought. You know, it kind of reminded me of back home in Jersey when the Campbell's factory left Camden and how desolate it left the whole area. Like we see in most towns, Detroit, other places where a big factory, back in the day, a lot of families and stuff worked in that factory, and then that factory up and goes and there's nothing to replace it. And what happens to the people there when they don't have enough to move and they're staying there. So you have this real like horror of actual like
The show, and you're like, they really are doing this, but they did it in a subtle way where it's not like pat us on the back.
Yes.
And I like that because it's like when you're asking us to pat you on the back, you really don't mean it anyway.
Exactly. It's like they let the story tell it. And this is all from the first episode, which is really cool. And the first 2 episodes, because the second episode came on this week, are now on demand. So if you want to catch up, and you can also catch it on the Sci-Fi online. If you have Roku, like I did, I caught the first episode. They show it in its entirety without commercials.
Yeah, the Sci-Fi app is actually amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I have it on my Apple TV, and yeah, you're able to just input your like cable provider, and you can watch anything on there if you do that. So yeah, it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
But speaking of apps, like Shudder is doing a special for Women in Horror Month.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you enter code WIHM9, so that's Women in Horror Month, like shortened, add 9, and you get a free month from Shudder.
Yay.
Which is one of our favorite apps to use here, much like the Sci-Fi app. I mean, do we even need cable sometimes with all these great apps? Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, right now they have the exclusive Mayhem movie that's on there right now, and it was actually the highest streamed movie on Shudder in its history thus far, the Mayhem movie.
Yeah, and didn't you interview Joe Lynch on Tuesday here? Did he come in for horror?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I was like, I knew he'd been in, but yeah, I was like, was it when you were there? Yeah. And you have a new horror show out. Yeah.
I do. It's called the Thank you.
Yeah.
It's called The Bloody Breakdown, and it comes out every Thursday on my YouTube channel. You can go on my Twitter for the link to the YouTube, and basically the trailer dropped today. I'm dropping the first episode sometime tonight if you're watching this on this Thursday. And I'm actually so it's a show where I break down movies, I review new and old vintage movies in 6 minutes, 66 seconds or less.
Oh, wow.
666.
666. I like that. And yeah, if you guys do want to find that Joe Lynch interview, that is on Horror Movie News, which is on our sister network, Popcorn Talk, and Anthony in the booth with us. He was there, and that's his show. You see us sometimes join in. Like next week, we have Perry Shin on there from the Hatchet series, and I'll be joining him because Perry actually is also on General Hospital, which is how I know him, which is fun. But yeah, be sure to watch that show as well if you want your movie fix.
We're just all immersed in the horror, y'all.
Exactly.
It's a wonderful thing.
You know, it's part of the zeitgeist now. But on some sad news, while celebrating Black History Month is great, but we want to remember actor Reggie Cathy, who most people know from The Wire, but I loved him in Outcast, and he's just, I mean, his IMDb page is like a mile long. But this is at least a fun video of him rapping in German at Comic-Con.
Es war so finster. und absolute Sie kamen einen Augenbrauen, Pfefferkuchen sein. Wer mag das Erwerfen von diesen Hausen sein? Ist finster und bitte kalt. Finster, Pfefferkuchenhaus, da schaut eine halbe Hexe raus. Sie hatte Kinder im Pfefferkuchenhaus.
Yeah, like he just, I never got to meet Reggie, but he always just seemed like such a sweet, nice guy. Like, even though he didn't always play one on TV, but yeah, I'm like,
great
oh,
actor,
yeah.
great theater actor as well as, and it was really interesting because, you know, John Cho actually said that one of the times when one of his first, like, roles, he actually got some great advice from him that stuck with him, like, on every show he's ever done since. And when somebody can make such a, because that's one of the things, you know, paying that forward when you have such talent to instill such inspiration to your fellow colleagues. So his, you know, we see that his, you know, his legend, his, you know, will live on.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like he's done so much, you know, and that's what's always great though is at least, you know, when people go, even though you're sad about it, like when they've got such a good legacy, it's like, hey, at least we can always enjoy stuff like that. Nice, fun little videos of him. I mean, I didn't even know he spoke German, and I'm like, that's so cool.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I think that is it for Horror TV Weekly this week. Where can they keep up the conversation with you, Chauncey?
Well, once again, you can find me on Twitter at Miss Chauncey KR, and also on The Flash every Tuesday at AfterBuzz TV, and also, like I said before, on The Bloody Breakdown every Thursday, where I'll be giving you horror movie reviews in 6 minutes, 66 seconds or less.
All right, guys, and since I'm Lacretia Lyon, you can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one. My podcast, Mrs. Brightside, comes to you every Tuesday. I have a lot of AfterBuzzers on there. You'll recognize their voices like James Lott Jr., Matt Maher, and hopefully Chauncey K. Robinson here soon. And believe me, tweet me who you want to be on there, guys. Like, I'll put them on. It's fun. Takes an hour. It's done in my living room, and you get to learn a little bit about me and whoever's with me, since I interview them and try to keep on the bright side of things. And also, Legends of Tomorrow is one of the few things running during the Olympics, so that is now Tuesdays at 8 p.m. And, you know, we play the Constantine drinking game.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.